All right, hey everybody, we are in our first Google Hangout and we've had some technical difficulties, but we've kind of got things ironed out and we're excited about being in here. I wanted to do this on a smaller scale. I know it's the middle of the day. Some of you are going to be watching the recording because you're unable to participate. You've got other things going on. It's the middle of the day. I certainly understand that. But I wanted to start testing this out because I have just been really energized and excited about the Google Plus community that we've already begun. And it's just encouraging to see people in there helping one another, asking questions, getting advice. And that's what I really hope that this community brings for people. It's just a place where you can network with other people. I know for me, when I first was getting started, it was very difficult because I felt like, other than some either courses I took or things that I happened to be reading about, I really had no personal interaction with any other bloggers. And so that was extremely hard and difficult because I felt very isolated. And so this is why I'm really excited about this community. And hopefully we'll be able to hold hangouts like this every once in a while, get people on, learn from each other, and then any tips or advice that I can give you will pass along as well. Bob Loddick, as you guys know, is my co-partner in this whole adventure of blogging your passion. He's actually driving to Florida, believe it or not. He's going to get away for a few weeks with his wife. We're actually going to have lunch on Tuesday because I live in Florida, and so we'll get a chance to hang out with each other, and it's really only once a year for the most part we get a chance to kind of hang out with one another when he gets too cold in Missouri and decides he needs to come back and get a taste of Florida. It's actually going to be 81 degrees today as I'm recording this, so it's definitely warm and sunny. And like I posted on the Facebook fan page, I think the birds are quite confused trying to figure out if it's already spring, because I definitely heard a lot of birds around my house. I have woods that kind of surround my house, so it's warm, but you know, Florida's weather, it could get cold again, and of course our cold is all relative. My wife's from Florida, and so cold is getting into the 50s for her. I grew up in the Midwest in Indiana, so 50s is you're still wearing shorts, t-shirt, and playing tackle football outside. So anyways, what I'm going to do now, and kind of the process for this hangout, what we're going to do is I'm going to start by sharing a PowerPoint screen on my Google Docs that just kind of shares with you what my top 5 goals, where I'm focusing my efforts on my online business and blogging. And maybe that'll help give you some ideas. Maybe you have some of your own goals, and maybe we can talk about some of those if we get a chance. And then also we have several questions that people asked that weren't going to be here. I'm going to try to get to those. And we have started late, so I'm going to try to be time conscious as well, for those that, if you certainly need to go beyond 3 o'clock and we're still here, you can feel free to exit. I don't feel bad at all. Don't feel bad if you need to go at any time. So with that, let me try to share this Google Doc screen, and hopefully you guys will be able to see it. Here are, and if any time along the way, if something stops or stops working, feel free to interrupt and let me know, so I'm just not talking to myself. That would be great. But you know, I took some time over the holidays to sit down and think about where my goal, you know, kind of where my blog was and where I'm heading and the direction I'm going, and really tried to focus in on, you know, where I see things going, talking to other bloggers and the stuff that I'm reading, trying to get a better sense of where things are. So some of this may help you, because it's things that are on my mind and conversations that I've had with Bob as well. So here's kind of my top 5. And I actually snuck in one more because there's one more that I want to talk about. And really, just step back a second. The reason I want to talk and share this with you guys is kind of twofold. One, it's actually to hold myself a little bit accountable, because anytime you get an opportunity to kind of put where the goals that you want to accomplish out there, it can be a good thing. It looks like it's slowing down on me here. It just doesn't want to cooperate today. All right. Now you guys should be able to see it. But like I was saying, with going through this process, anytime you can let other people know what you're doing, it can not only help them, but it can also, in a way, hold you more accountable in the process too. And I heard this recently on a podcast. Seth Godin, if any of you have followed him or read any of his books, he's just one of the most interesting thinkers right now of our time. And one of the things he said is he was thinking about all the people that he's coaching. He's coaching them on starting their own business or starting a blog or monetizing and marketing and all that. And what's interesting is he said, all these clients that come in and sit down and talk to me, because what I've realized is that 10% of the time we're talking about tactics, very specific tactics. And then 90% of the time we're actually talking about overcoming fears, overcoming your fear of failure, overcoming the different fears that you can experience. I don't want to waste my time. Will anybody be interested in what I have to offer? There's so many that we can face. And so when you're setting goals, what you have to realize is that 90% of the time, writing it down is just the first step. 90% of the reason why we don't take steps toward it, if we really looked inwardly, it's because we have some fear that's associated there. We have some hesitation. There's obstacles. There's reasons why we're not just fully going for it. So when you put yourself out there, you can definitely begin to provide that accountability that you need. So let me just share, kind of run through these quickly. Number one of my goals this year is I want to expand and or deepen my blogging relationships. It's real easy to become isolated in this whole blogosphere. And if you read any of the recent posts, you're probably starting to get a feel for this theme that I have for this year. And that is the trend and the way that I see things heading is very social. You have to be willing to put yourself out there, join a community like we just did, or be willing to take the steps to come join a hangout like we're doing right here. And this could be your very first one. This is the first step in the process. And you get further faster when you surround yourself with other passionate people who are heading in the same direction that you're trying to go. And I think gone are the days of being kind of this isolated internet marketer who's trying to be sneaky with Google and make thousands of dollars on AdSense. I mean, with all the changes that Google's made, I know some people who they hid behind their blogs and they didn't want other people to know about it. And sure, there's probably still some people making money that way, but to me, it's a deck of cards. You need to be instead out there building value into people, putting yourself out there, be willing to talk to people, get to know others, go to a blogging conference, go join a community, get in a hangout, form a mastermind group. Susan's in this hangout, and one of the things that I've appreciated watching her and her journey is that she has formed a mastermind group of her own. And I've had a chance to join in on that. And it's really neat to see how each other's growing through building relationships with one another. And so I would just encourage you guys to also think about expanding and deepening your blogging relationships and what that means. And maybe you have some specific ways to apply that, but be looking for doing that, whether it's guest posting, joining a program where you can connect and network with others, that sort of thing. So let's go on to number 2. The second thing I'm really trying to put a focused effort in is I want to put a focused effort into continuing my education. And I don't want to get to the point where I think I've got it all figured out and my systems are working and I'm making income and I've got these, passive income streams or buckets that I've developed that I'm creating income and I'm seeing that income come in every day. Doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be there tomorrow. And so you need to always be investing into your education. One way you can do that is, obviously, many of you which have already done that, is to be a part of like the Blogging Your Passion University program. And we're going to be constantly adding more and more info into that. In fact, one of the things we're going to start on when Bob gets off vacation is we're going to start the 401 program, which I'm excited about because it's got some things that we have not yet covered that I think will be beneficial to people who really want to turn their hobby into more of a business when it comes to blogging. So, I mean, that's one obvious one, but let me just share with you two that I am focused on and that I've been kind of joined at the beginning of this year. One of them is Free Agent Academy. If you guys know of Dan Miller, his son, Kevin Miller, has a program that helps people who are on the journey of self-employment, not necessarily blogging. That could be one of the elements, and that could be one of the focuses for sure. But it's much more about learning and understanding your strengths, taking your ideas and putting them through an idea filter, and really understanding what it is that you are good at. Another program calls it your no-in path, which I think is a great way to describe it. There is something unique about you and something that you love, and if you can discover that and know what that is, that's a deep well that you can draw from because it's a no-in path for you. You 15, 20 years from now, you're still going to be passionate about that thing. And you can look in your past and find instances where it was coming alive in you, this certain type of passion. So I'm currently investing in being involved in that Free Agent Academy. I'll post a link in here in just a minute to show you how to get to that if you want. But that's one. The other one that I'm taking right now that I'm really excited about is it's called Trailblazer, and it's by a guy named Jonathan Mead. He's just a real unique, interesting individual, and I just am enjoying hearing his business side for how to take something that you're passionate about and align that with where the deep needs are, and in the process of all that, figuring out your offer and what you uniquely have to offer to people. And so it's called Trailblazer. You can actually get to both of those programs. I created short links through our website. The first one's bloggingyourpassion.com/FAA. And the second one is bloggingyourpassion.com/Trailblazer. And I'll post those links in here, and also for those that are going to be listening to the recording. But whatever it is, I would just encourage you to be willing to invest in your education. It helps, and you want to not only, the goal too is not only do you want to get the head knowledge, but you want to be able to surround yourself around other passionate people. I've heard it say that there's oftentimes nothing different from an unsuccessful person and a successful person except for the way that they think. And so when you get around people who are possibility thinkers and they think about how to get things done or how to do what you're trying to do, maybe you can identify with this, okay? It's funny when I tell people what I do because I just get this blank stare. They're like, okay, so you write articles and you publish and you make money, how? And they don't fully understand it. They don't get it, and you're probably misunderstood. What you're doing is probably highly misunderstood by a lot of people. It could be people in your own house. It could be friends or family. And so it's good for you to surround yourself with other passionate people. Here's number 3. Number 3 is I want to focus on what I call enhancing the business model process that I have. Now, this may be a bit technical for you if you're just getting started and you're just kind of getting your blog going around a hobby. But this is something that maybe at some point you're going to want to know, because it's going to give you that business mind side to make you a little bit more of a savvy type blogger, as opposed to so many other blogs out there. And there's certainly nothing wrong with having a hobby blog and doing it for fun and you're just kind of enjoying yourself. There's certainly nothing wrong with that, so don't get me wrong. But I know from talking with many of you, you do want to figure out how you can take something that you already enjoy and figure out how to help people and then earn some income in the process. And so that's specifically what I'm talking about here. And there's a chart, and I know those of you that are currently in the Hangout, you might not be able to see this, but maybe I can figure out how to post a link in a minute and show you once we kind of get through this little talk. But I got this from the website called businessmodelgenerator.com, and there's 9 blocks that you can fit any type of business into. And it's been really intriguing for me. I'm going to be taking this year and setting up one that's for bloggers. So if you're a blogger and you say, I've got this thing I'm passionate about, but I also am interested in figuring out not only how to help others, but earn some income with it, then stay tuned, because my goal is to take this and be able to help you think through your own situation and how you can find the tribe that is interested in what you have to offer, know what you uniquely have to offer people, and figure out how to build those relationships as well. So with that, let me hit the last 2 and then we'll jump into some questions here. Number 4, my 4th focus right now is I'm going to be publishing more Kindle books. I just spent the last week kind of mapping out my plan for that, but it's something that I'm passionate about right now because I see the potential that's there. And for many of you who say that you're just kind of getting started with your blog and you haven't figured out how to make your first dollar, something to honestly think about, and if you've been blogging for a while, this is easier than you think, is taking a category or taking some pillar post series that you've done and forming it and shaping it into a Kindle book. And the reason I say this is because there's such an unbelievable amount of eyeballs that are in Amazon. And not only that, but they're also, there's millions and millions of Kindles out there, and people are downloading and downloading and downloading. And they're downloading content like crazy. And you don't even have to have a book that's very much. I've got one of my first books right now, being transparent with you, I've only kept it at $2.99. I did that for a reason. First of all, it's only an 11,000 page ebook, which, your traditional hardback book is closer to 40,000 words, so it's 25%, even though it's got a lot of good content in it. So I've kept it at that lower price. But at that $2.99 price, at $2 a download, I'm easily averaging over $400 a month in passive income from that one book. And so my focus and my goal this year is if I can put out 2 or 3 more books, it's easy and realistic to assume that you can get to over $1,000 a month with content that you already have. Now maybe you're going to need to tweak it or rewrite it a bit to update it, refresh it, things like that. But I really would encourage you guys to do that. And for those of you that might be new to us, we actually took a group of students through our process of what we call Kindle Your Passion. And you can actually get to that by going to our website, bloggingyourpassion.com, and you'll find underneath the University tab, you will be able to find the link to the Kindle Your Passion course. So I just would highly recommend that, or if you want to talk to me personally, I'd be happy to do that. But that's one of my focuses, one of my goals this year, is to put out more Kindle books. And we can take some questions if you guys have questions about that in just a minute. The last thing that I'm going to talk about, number 5, is I'm going to do more podcasting. And this is something I just kind of got started with Blogging Your Passion. And then on another one of my blogs, I decided to start it, the Simple Life Habits blog, just to kind of see if there was an audience for it. And I've been blown away with the amount of downloads that happen. I mean, I really underestimated the power of podcasting. It's amazing to me how quickly you can go from nothing to a lot of downloads. I mean, I think I started maybe in November for my initial podcast for my Simple Life Habits. And I had maybe a few hundred people, which I thought was pretty cool. I wasn't sure how many it was going to take. And then by December, I had quadrupled that amount. And then in January, in the first week, it's quadrupled from just the first week. So it's amazing to me how you can simply turn on your mic, record yourself, upload it. And of course, there's little pieces to it if you've never done it before, but it's not super technical once you understand the workflow. And then it's out there on iTunes. And it's that concept of be everywhere. And so I'm going to be doing more podcasting because I think it's just a great way to get more people funneled into what you're doing on your blog. So those are my 5 primary areas. I've talked enough, so I'm going to open it up, see if you guys have any questions that are here with us, and then we're going to tackle a few questions that people had. So, any questions, anybody? Feel free to open it up. If not, we'll jump into the questions. Looks like there might be a question coming in the chat. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. I email my questions. Well, here, let me do this. Let me start with some of the questions that we got from the group, and then we'll kind of go from there. And maybe some of these might be questions of yours as well. Okay. All right, the first one we have is, let's see, Shilpa. She said, I haven't been able to track traffic and clicks. No clicks so far as yet. What might be going wrong? Well, it's hard to say without taking a look into your Google Analytics, Shilpa, but as far as you answering that first part of the question, being able to attract traffic, I would say that you've got two areas that you need to focus in. One is guest posting, so reaching out to other bloggers in your niche and attracting people who are interested in the same thing. I think if I remember right, your blog was more about simple tips for about technology. So you want to reach out to other technology blogs, post some guest posts there, and you're going to attract traffic of people who are already interested in that topic. And then also you want to be doing some SEO, some keyword research, which there is I'm just going to put this in the chat. There's a tool that Bob and I love to use that is called the Keyword Researcher tool. And you can actually go to the website and use it on it's a kind of a limited amount, but you can go to the website and use it for free. So let me just post that in here. And there is a blog post I wrote in the past that kind of talks about this tool. And what I love about the tool is you can just use the words. I love answering questions. I think answering questions is incredibly powerful when you have the ability to answer questions, because people are using Google to ask their questions. So what you can do is you can use whatever your main topic is or the topic you want to write about, and you can put in how or why or when or what, and it's going to bring back for you questions that people have already asked in Google. So that can help you kind of know what the questions are in your particular niche. So it's a really neat little tool. Kimberly has a question in here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit that. It says, I write just a general personal blog. How do I better define a niche, or do I create multiple blogs? Now, this is a good question. Here I'm seeing there's two things that are going on here. First of all, number one is you need to have a general theme of your blog. Does that mean you have to be so narrow that you become bored with yourself? No. I had a difficulty starting just one blog. I had to end up starting a couple. Part of that's my personality, and And if you find yourself being excited about new things a lot and you're always constantly jumping into something new, you may have a personality type that's similar to mine. And by that, I mean, you can either look up the term polymath or scanner, is another one, or another term for it is multi-potentialite. And what those are is people who your passion is learning, and your passion is learning lots of different things. And so there's two thoughts there. One is if you're going to start a couple blogs, you have to have the time available to do that. You really do, because it's a lot just starting one. The other thing that I find that people with that personality type are doing is they're looking for an overarching theme to make their blog about. A great example is Chris's blog, The Art of Nonconformity. His blog allows him to talk about traveling, which he loves to travel, and budget travel, and how to travel, how to get cheap tickets, the journeys he's gone on, and he's also talking about his non-traditional employment, how you can earn money in non-traditional ways. And so he's got a lot of latitude because he didn't make his blog just about business. He calls it The Art of Nonconformity. So what you can do, and what some people have coined, is this idea of an idea smush, where you kind of look at the different interests you have and see if there's a way to kind of to bring it together a little bit more. If that's you, I would also encourage you to check out a website called PuttyLike. It's Puttyylike. Let me just type it in there. And there's some very interesting conversations going on there about that type of personality. If you've got many passions and many interests, it's almost like, to me, it's almost like this. For me to have to choose one thing, and this isn't true for everybody, okay? For some people, they get a lot of clarity when they have the ability just to choose one. For other personality types that have that polymath, scanner, Renaissance person, personality, when you have that personality type, it's almost like to choose one thing means either boredom or death, or you feel constrained, you feel constricted, for that type of personality. And again, that's not true for everybody. But I would encourage you to check out puttylike.com. The other thing is there's a really cool book that's called Refuse to Choose. And you can get that on the Amazon Kindle. It's not a new book, but it's a great book from an author who talks about what to do when you have lots of different passions and how to give yourself permission to head down that road. All right, let me grab another question here. Oh, yeah. Amanda, you put a question in here. All right. Is it bad for my blog if I let another website republish one of my posts? Will it penalize me in the search engine somehow? This is a great question. And there are two schools of thought there. I am probably more conservative. And so I lean towards not allowing that to happen. However, some people are going to do it anyway. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I mean, there are some steps you want to take. If you're that concerned about it, you certainly can do it. Some steps you can take to get them to take it off. But probably I would say the most important thing for you to do, and this probably goes into a whole nother discussion, is for you to get into the Google authorship and make sure that one of the main reasons why I did a Google Plus account is because you can use your personal profile, Google Plus account, to link to your blog, and then you use your blog to link back to your profile. And I'm giving you the very dumbed down version. And when you do that, what you do is you confirm your Google authorship. And if you've ever done a search recently and seen that there's some people that have their little picture next to, just do a Google search on anything. Those that have the little picture next to it, it's because they've participated in the Google authorship. I do have a blog post that explains for you how to do it. So, Amanda, if you haven't done that yet, or if any of you haven't done it, I could get that in a minute and probably find it and post a link in there. But by you doing that, what that does is that confirms that you're the original author. So in my mind, if Google doesn't have this ability, they're going to know which one is the original, so that one is the one that ends up higher in the search engines. Because what's happened in the past is when there's content, the same content at different websites, they get thrown into, in the past, into this supplemental search results at the bottom of the page. You can actually expand it and see it down there, but most people don't. And so a lot of people don't end up getting traffic from those supplemental results. Now, they could have changed since then. I haven't looked, but in the past, that's where it's gone. It's got thrown into this supplemental results section. So what I would encourage you to do, if someone asks you, what you could do and what I've done in the past is just turn it into a guest posting opportunity. I've just said, hey, would you be open to me rewriting this topic or saying it in a different light and publishing that as a guest post? So that's just kind of where I go with it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, what it is, my church?
Yeah.
Can I ask you another part? Would it work? Because my church would take like every one of my blog posts, because I'm only writing about 3 times a week, and post it on their website. I used to write in a separate, very short article, but I didn't really have time to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Could they do an
absolutely.
With a
Yeah,
link
absolutely.
blog?
And there's nothing wrong with taking a portion of it and saying to read the rest of the article, click here, and it goes over to your website. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. And again, there are people who go for that a lot, and it seems to work for them. So I'm not saying that, automatically you're going to be penalized. I'm just more the person that I try to make my website to be as original content as possible, because if Google decides, the more and more technology they develop, I feel like it could potentially create problems. But again, that's just my opinion. There's good people that think the other way, and it works for them. So that's just from my perspective. Yeah. Let's jump another question here. And if you guys have any more questions, feel free to just put, I have a question in the chat box, or type the question in there. All right, next question. Denise said, I'm interested in learning practical ways to build traffic through Pinterest for a fan-based or lifestyle blog. My wife has a blog, and she's done well with Pinterest. It's been a really good referral source for her. And the main reason why, unless they've changed it, and I don't know that they have more recently, is when you click on the picture, it actually takes you to the blog. So it's an easy way to get, yeah, okay, good, to get traffic. And I noticed Susan just commented in the comments, which is what my wife does also, is she puts her tagline or her website address in the image every single time. And she's got, her blog is more of a crafty, do-it-yourself, upcycle type of a blog. And so she's taking how-to pictures and before and after pictures of creative things that she's doing around the house. And so she just tags solovethat.com is her website. She just puts that, watermarks that on there, and then it is a good way to kind of advertise. So I would say you can definitely do that. And there's simple ways to do that if you're not very graphically inclined. You can do that with a website called picmonkey.com, where you can just simply put it over that, right over the picture and that sort of thing. So anything you have to add, Susan? Because I know maybe you have some tips or anything with Pinterest.
Pinterest has become one of my major drivers because of the images that I create, both my photography as well as my drawings. But it was slow in coming. When it came, it was like wow. It became for a while there, it was one of my number one referral sites. Um, but what I found is that when they got there, you better have something worth seeing because they don't necessarily
That's
stick around very long. And the other thing is you want to protect those images. You want to protect those images because those images become, let's say, they find themselves in places they shouldn't at times. And if you don't have it watermarked, for me, I don't care whether it goes someplace, but I want to make sure that my image, I'm given credit for it because it's mine. It's no one else's. So that's something to be aware of. And if you have the capacity, for example, on Apple, I can pull any image off of anything and use it as if it were my own. It's not right, but it's reality, and I know that others can do the same. So, it's just kind of be aware. With Pinterest, what I found, if you want to get people to really stay with you, you need to put a really good comment that's going to be enticing enough to have them really click through to the website. Just don't post the blog name or what it is, the subject matter, or even just the image name. What you want to do is to say, this is a really good recipe, you got to check this out. Then put the name of the blog post beside it. So when they get there, they're going to say, oh, this is where I want to be. This is the recipe I want to check out. Advice or a little
Yep,
something I
absolutely.
learned along the way.
Thanks.
Is that
No, that's
helpful?
good. I appreciate you giving your tips there. It's good stuff. All right. We got a couple more questions here, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. Um, all right. Mary Stewart has a couple questions. Number one, how do you balance writing your blog with other writing projects? I've got a
Yeah.
this is there's a lot going on in this question, but I would say first of all, um, you might be working a full-time job and trying to do this on the side. I was there, and what I had to finally do is carve out two times um, that I knew I could have uninterrupted time. And that was very early in the morning, which I was not a morning person, but I was very passionate about where I wanted to go and the result I wanted to get. So I would force myself. And actually, what's funny is up until then, I never drank coffee. But now I have coffee every day, and that's because I had to get woken up to try my early morning writing session. And so you'll be surprised what you can get done when you have one whole hour with no one around, totally uninterrupted. You're focused. And the key too is also constantly filling your a notebook or filling your Evernote. I use Evernote with lots and lots of blog post ideas. And you get that from reading other posts. You get that from, just throughout the day. You start thinking about something. You got to have a way to record it, write it down, so that when you're sitting down to write, you've got potentially 10 or 15 different ideas. Whichever one excites you the most, get going and start writing on that. Or, and I think we have another question about this, about an editorial calendar. Um, Start developing a simple editorial calendar that kind of maps out where you want to go and the topics that you want to do, and it'll really help you. Otherwise, you'd be staring at a blank screen. So that's first thing, is that carve out some uninterrupted time. And then the second thing is you want to, as much as you can, try to batch process together your blogging tasks. So when I have a block of time, maybe it's 1 hour, maybe it's 3 or 4 hours, I want to focus on just being able to write. I don't want to write half a blog post, go tweet something on Twitter, go over to Facebook, you know, answer this comment, and find myself just scattered. Put it together. And when you get in the flow, and when you start it, I heard it takes like almost 23 minutes to actually get fully absorbed into a task. And so when you're writing your blog post and you get into that, you don't want to be interrupted because it's going to take 23 more minutes to get back at that same level of concentration. So you want to be putting together, and Bob's not here, but I'll speak for him because he's said this so many times. Early on, when he was working and he was trying to get his website off the ground, what he did is every Saturday morning he would wake up early and he write all his blog posts for the next week. And maybe it took him till noon, but he did that consistently, and he would write them all, schedule them, and that way the most important task for him was done every single Saturday morning. And he did that for months, even when he was making less than $100 a month. He just would sit down, he would put it together, and he would get in the flow of writing. And if you talk to Bob, and he'll tell you this, writing is not his number one favorite thing. He would not consider himself to have a passion for writing. He has a passion for helping people. He has a passion for giving out advice, financial advice, but it's not necessarily his passion, not his 100% highest passion is not just in writing. But he found a system that worked for him. So that would be my answer to you. That's helped me. I know there's other people that use that similar idea of like when you're doing podcasts, if you've got a couple podcast episodes you want to do them all together, do it at once, do it along the same block of time. I think that would be the advice I would give for that. Any questions, or I'll go on to the next one. Here's her second question. Again, this is Mary. What effective strategies for building a following and supporting other bloggers? So what are some effective strategies? Obviously, I just mentioned guest posting. That's one. This Google Plus community, I'm really excited about the potential that exists here. It's going to allow you to see what other passionate bloggers are doing, and you're going to learn from them, and you can ask your questions. And what's cool is there's already people asking questions and other people are chiming in and giving answers. So don't be afraid of just listing your question out there. Somebody will jump in and be a help to you. I'd also encourage you, this works for some, doesn't work for others, and I have to be picky and selective, but I'd encourage you, if you want to get started, I would encourage you to try myblogguest.com. I use it sometimes to kind of fill in the spot when I need a guest post and maybe I don't have one in the hopper, but I don't have time to write, but I want to publish something. Then you can actually, with a free account at myblogguest, you can look through titles and even summaries of articles and decide if there's one that really fits your niche and request to have that posted.